Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing this Sunday morning from Rotherham? Hope you're all right. I'm glad you've tuned in. But then again, you know why you've tuned in, don't you? You've tuned in to see your Uncle Porky let rip and tell some truths. And the truths I tell, you know they're right, don't you? You know that nobody dare do it like I'm doing it. Yeah, but other people are trying to jump on bandwagon, aren't they? You Peter McDonough's, the lad I had on the other day, Michael. They're trying to be a bit outspoken like me, but I'm a pioneer for being outspoken in boxing. And I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but I am. And we're going all the way to the top with Porky's Corner after the news we've just had today. Right, so it's giving me a spring in my step. So I'm joined by Simon from Bristol. How are you doing, Simon?
Good, yeah. Quite a lot of activity on the shows last night. Yeah. Lots of discussion for today.
Yeah.
So looking forward to having a good chat about all things boxing.
Right then, let's go balls deep. The Eduardo Hills. We call him Eddie Hills in our house now. My little boy Reggie says to me when I seen him yesterday, "Daddy, don't you call him Eddie Hearn no more? Why are you calling him Hills? It's Hearn." Because my little boy's autistic. He's got this thing about numbers and words. I says, "Look, we've changed his name to Hills." He went, "Oh, okay. So it's Eddie Hills from now on. Every time I call him Eddie, Hearn, I'm going to put 10p in my swear box, which is chock-a-block at the moment. Could buy a Porsche with money in there." But we'll go straight in with one of the first fights on show. Johnny Fisher, who I haven't met, but I was speaking to Mark Tibbs a couple of months ago, and I said, "Well, why don't you get him up to Peter Fury's?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know." And I said, "Well, look, I'll ring Peter and ask him." Peter said, "Send him up." He went up there for a week, did all right. He's raw, very, very raw. You could see it in his performance yesterday, but he's got a mouthpiece behind him, and he's Sam Jones, or Scam Jones, as the hardcores call him. He's growing on me, that Sam Jones, but I can see him being a pest. Basically because look how many trainers Joe Joyce has had. So I hope he don't get in Mark Tibbs' way and try and tell him how to train fighters like he has everybody else with Joe Joyce. What do you think to that? He beat Matt Gordon. What do you think? What do you think about the old Johnny Fisher story? What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, what we've got there is a guy that's not really ventured down the amateur route too heavily.
Yeah.
Had decent exposure last night. Finished his opponent pretty convincingly. Whereas I think if you're looking through the card last night, I would say that there was a particular fight, Florian Mark, who struggled to get that fella out of there. He should have got Charlton out of that fight a lot earlier than what he did. And Johnny Fisher came along. He looked all right. There's not really a wow factor about Johnny Fisher just yet, but we can't make any sort of strong evaluations of what he can do. It's first fight. He's taken out the guy in front of him. Let's see him get regular fights this year.
Well, I've heard he loves training. He's a young lad. I've heard he loves training. He's only had a handful of fights, 14 fights or something as amateurs. But he is raw. He's a bit wet behind the ears, isn't he? Because it's all a bit wow to him at the moment. But once he gets to see how it all works out, his attitude will change, and he won't be as, trying to be everybody's pal and all that kind of thing. He'll see through all these shithouses in boxing, because 99% of them, I used to say 99% shithouses, a lot of them. So, right then, the second fight. Jordan Gill with an afro against Juarez. 10 losses he's got. Coldwell built it up into some big 50-50, and he who dares wins Rodders, and dare to be great and all that, but I thought his opponent were a load of shite. What did you think, Simon?
So this was when I was eating my dinner last night, so I was passively watching this fight. Can't say I missed a great deal.
It tastes all right, your dinner.
It was nice. I had a nice set of pork ribs, actually. A lot of the feedback from this fight was it's a great learning fight for Jordan Gill. It was his 27th fight. Yeah. How are you still having learning fights at 27 fights into your career? That's madness.
Well, I've heard he's a quitter. I've heard he's a quitter if you put it on him. I've heard he's an on-top fighter. He's a quitter. Now, watching the fight last night, I'm not going to hammer him because I'm going to stick Dave Coldwell up on the thumbnail today. My mate, Jab Apparel, Johnny Owen, cheers for the thumbnail. Right, this is how I look at it. Jordan Gill, he fought like he'd filled his nappy. He didn't want to engage, and I still don't think he's over that time when he quit, because he quit in the ring, didn't he? And his defeat.
Yeah.
I don't think he's over that, and I think there's a long way to go. But that opponent up like last night is some roadman killer, and he weren't. He got 10 losses and shot to bits. Now, we all know the story about Matchroom offering Jordan Gill up for Josh Whale. I know that fact. I know that for a fact. Now, Mick Whale said, yeah, we'll take the Jordan Gill fight, but you're going to have to put us a proper purse up, more than what they offered, which was crap. Also, it's going to have to be 12 rounds and not 10, because Josh Whale's a 12-round fighter. Gill's an 8-round fighter. Josh Whale puts it on him this summer in June if he wants and smashes him up to bits. I'll go on record as saying Josh Whale wears him out over 12 rounds, mate. Forces him into a stoppage, mate. Makes him fight, makes him quit. That's on record. What do you think to that?
Yeah, I haven't got to admit, I haven't followed Jordan Gill's career too heavily. It's not someone that's caught the eye before. Having a look through the record and things, it's like, well, he's got one retirement on his record. What I saw last night wasn't really impressive. There's a lot of action on the back foot. He wasn't really wanting to get involved too heavily in the pocket and things. So yeah, it's not really someone I can speak too heavily about at the moment.
Yeah. Do you feel that Dave Coldwell's career will be defined by what he does with Jordan Gill and what he does with Hopi Price? Do you think that if them kids fail before they win a British title or a European, do you feel that he won't be held in such high regard as people like Bellew hold him? Because did you see some of the tweets that people were sending me? I think I forwarded you them. Tony Bellew was tweeting all night and he had his tongue up everybody's hoop that's connected to Matchroom. It's that embarrassing. I'm not even going to read the tweets out because it's so painful. I had chest pains, I had an ulcer, and it gave me diarrhea reading Tony Bellew's tweets. Why does this man do this? Why don't he disappear? What do you think to that?
He's got a split personality, hasn't he, Mr. Bellew?
Split personality, eh?
And there's Anthony and Tony.
Well, what I found funny were he kept tweeting about every 10 minutes trying to get his tweets on TV. Once he started, all the rest of the brigade start, don't they? Stephanie Bull and the rest of them. They all get their tongue up Matchroom like that. That's what they do. They get the tongue out, they get it up the hoop. Eddie's like that, woo! But Eddie probably likes it. But look, these are grown men. Grown men carrying off like that. I might even read them out. In fact, I'm going to read them out.
In respects of Dave Coldwell, I mean, he's got a couple of fighters that you've named, but it looks like he's going to have a non-boxing issue to tackle with that potential lawsuit that's coming his way.
Oh, from Jerome Wilson.
Yeah.
He's probably in trouble.
Is that been lodged against the board and Jerome Wilson now? The complaint, is it being fully raised?
It's gone through. It's going to court. Jerome Wilson suing the board and Dave Coldwell for negligence. So I hope he gets a few quid out of that job. So,
where are the board going to move to after this one?
Probably a 2-bedroom terraced house in Highfields, Doncaster.
Maybe a porter cabin next.
Maybe. Brilliant boxing. This is from the Disappearing Man. Brilliant boxing from @Jordan Gill. This is. Young pros and amateurs, take note. This is how you box. A very strong pressure fighter. Angles, counters, showing the whole arsenal. Tonight is Jordan Gill. Great advice from the coach, Dave Coldwell, also. Oh, God.
Oh, I'm sure we can have an interesting discussion about corner work in terms of the next fight on last night's bill from the corner of Robbie Davies Jr.
Yeah. Moving on then. Moving on from that then, we'll go to Robbie Davies Jr. because Mr. Bellew, the Disappearing Man, the man with all the vacant belts at home, the man that's comfortable putting his head on pillow at night, knowing that he's been iced that many times. And he's never been a champion. Tony, if you're comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with it. Right, go on then. Robbie Davies Jr. against Valenzuela, who Robbie lost on points. Take it away, Simon. Take it away.
There's quite a bit of discussion on this fight. It wasn't one that was really standing out prior to the night. It kind of goes back to last week where we had lots of talking points after the night. You look at the card on paper, it's not really drawing you out too heavily. But this fight had some really suspect scoring again. Only 2 judges gave it to the Mexican lad, and one judge gave it a draw. They also took a point off the Mexican fighter. The ref took a point. But then you're looking at the action. Why wasn't Robbie Davies Jr. taking a point for his repeated shots to the back of the lad's head?
Because he's fighting at home.
Well, then you look at the officials in that fight. I may be wrong.
Officials?
Well, I heard the ref was from Liverpool.
Oh, God.
I'm not definitely certain on that, but I may be barking up the wrong tree. But I heard the ref was from Liverpool. But the
jump on boxer.
Let me just see if I can get the. I'm on his fight card now. How do you get the officials of that fight?
Just go on to Boxrec and then press bout.
Yeah. Referee Mark Lyson. Ian John Lewis gave it 96-95 for Valenzuela. John Latham gave it a draw, and Victor Laughlin gave it. John Lewis and Laughlin gave it 1 round to the Mexican. 1 round.
Jesus. So the score. So how many rounds were the judges in him out then? The other judges.
I mean, I passively scored this. So I was watching it, but not really intently watching it, and I gave it 7-3, 6-4 to the Valenzuela.
No, Simon, you're missing question. The 2 judges who had it to the 2 judges who had it to the Mexican, what were their scores?
Yeah. 96-95. 1 round.
And what were other guy? What were other judge?
94 each. So draw.
Right, so it's 10 rounders. 10 rounders are always hard to score than 12. Personally, I thought Robbie Davies Jr. lost, but what I will point out is this. Let me just read this out. This is from Tony Bellew. Good luck to the best coach in the country tonight, Dave Coldwell. I'm one of the most gifted and definitely the most dedicated fighters. I had the pleasure to spend my time with Jordan Gill in my final training camps. You deserve every success. And then he goes on to promote Coldwell and this and that, and I would say what a great guy he is, and blah blah blah. And then Terry Dooley, a Scouser, or a Manchester kid. I think he used to work in one of the boxing magazines. I'm not sure. He pipes up. Forget just promoting him. Dave Coldwell would have been the perfect trainer for Robbie Davies Jr. Oh my God! Hoop, 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 hoop! Right. Dominic Ingle. He was a trainer. I've heard there was a bit of intense beef, or should we say corned beef, in the corner last night. Well, there's some corned beef going on. Because I've heard they fell out.
I don't know which. There was an issue at the interval between one of the rounds where Robbie Davies Jr. wasn't happy with his breathing. He looked panicky, he looked edgy. There was the instructions coming from the corner was to have Robbie Davies Jr. fighting in southpaw, and he is known as an orthodox fighter. So they're trying to make him switch it, and he was completely uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of argument between trainer and fighter during that fight on what tactics and what stance should be applied. The messages from the corner you could hear clearly with the lack of with the no supporters in that venue.
Yeah.
So you could hear Ingle constantly going, and he's just information overloading that fighter.
Yeah,
just constantly yapping like one of them small dogs you get. He's just constantly going, and Robbie Davies Jr. must be trying to focus. Constant disruption rather than clear small chunks of information. That was really difficult for him.
How dare you say that about Dominic Ingle? Ozzie Smith will be turning in his breakfast this morning and be like, oh my God, somebody's saying something bad about Dominic Ingle. Look, I've never rated Dominic Ingle anyway. Look, let me just read you this. Look, we both agree Robbie Davies Jr. lost, don't we?
For sure, yeah.
So the right man won, so we're happy with that.
Luckily, we got the right result.
Yeah. Right, this is the disappearing man, Tony Bellew. Getting a lot of responses on Robbie Davies Jr.'s fight. I really like Robbie and actually got him with Matchroom's Tony there, Mr. Middleman. Exerting himself into every scenario, hoping his tweet goes on TV. I just feel he was being advised wrongly. The Ingle style is very hard to deal with when it's ingrained in you. However, it's something that can't be learned overnight. Mr. Company Man, let me just point out something to you, Anthony Tony Bellew, or whoever you are today. It's not called the Ingle style. The Ingles are not fighters. It's the Harold Bomber Graham style from Nottingham, who moved to Sheffield to be with Brendan Ingle, the late, great Brendan Ingle. It is not the Ingle style, Tony. You know that. Every gym in the country, boxing gym, knows it is not the Ingle style. For the last time, it is the Bomber Graham style. Get it into your thick skull. Bomber Graham style. It is not the Ingle style. Jesus, it's the walking around with the hands down. Robbie Davies Jr. won't walking around with his hands down. You don't see Kell Brook with hands down. All we ever saw were Bomber Graham with hands down, Johnny Nelson odd time, Ryan Rhodes odd time. That was it, and Naz. But Naz had his own style. This Ingle style thing fries my head. Go on to my Boxing Royalties videos. Go and watch the first Glyn Rhodes interview. Sat on the ring apron. He was there from the 70s all the way up. It's the Bomber Graham style, Tony. You know that. Stop exerting Dominic Ingle into some style guru. He's not. 3 of his fighters have failed dome tests. Jesus Christ. Oh, anyway. So Robbie Davies Jr. lost. Anyway, I'm gutted. I'm gutted about him losing, but it is what it is. Right. Who at next one?
That was the main
Marco.
fight of the card. Josh Kelly, David Avenesian.
We haven't spoke about Marco, have we, in Charlton?
Oh yeah, Scurry, yeah.
Chief support. What do you think to that?
Marku looked very comfortable through most of the fight.
Yeah.
He looked rough, rugged, and durable.
Added spies. Precocious. You forgot precocious.
But he seemed more than comfortable with Charlton there in that fight. There was no real problems, and the knockdown was where he got caught with a decent shot, Marku, and he rolled his ankle gave at the same point. So he lost a bit of his confidence and swag after that knockdown.
No.
But what I'd have liked him to have done was to finish that fight a lot earlier than how long it lasted too long. If he wants to be this sort of, he's quite an outspoken fella, and he likes to talk, likes to cause intense beef in previous bubbles.
Corn beef.
So let's see him turn it up and put these type of fighters away earlier, because that welterweight division, I looked at the champions list last night, and no chance. Even some of the contenders at not high in the rankings would take out these fellas.
Right. Well, Marku against Charlton, in my opinion, were a life and death, wasn't it?
Yeah, it turned into that.
That'll be a rematch, and Sam Jones will want the rematch. Because there's nowhere. Look, they're having to recycle all this shit. Recycled shit. Rematch after rematch after rematch. Every fight nowadays has a rematch clause. So, and if it hadn't, they've got nowhere else to go, so they take it anyway when offered. That'll be a rematch, and it'll be the same outcome. Marku win, but he's got Sam Jones as his mouthpiece, so he'll be beating drum, won't he? Seconds out, Fight Night, Boxing Social, IFL, Matchroom Boxing, Sky Boxing, Behind the Gloves. He'll go through the full 7, and he'll push his guy. Now, let's move on now to the main event, because I'm going to ask you some questions around this. I'm going to ask you what you think, and we're going to have to look at it from both ways. We aren't hammering anybody, because there's 2 sides to every story. And until I speak to Richard Towers later today, we have to get the story right. Otherwise, I'll have Richard round here putting a steam iron on my chest. You know, like in that film, Layer Cake. Only joking, Richard. Right. Avenesian against Kelly. It was cancelled 3 times. This was the 4th time. They're saying there's bad blood between the camps, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, we knew that from the previous press conferences. The full script that the manager had previously with the Adam Booth kind of back and forth. So we knew that there was stuff going on before this one, and that was kind of, to a degree, what added something to this, just to see how people would react under more scrutiny in these sort of bubbles and things like that. We've heard rumors of certain activities happening again in the bubble, in the hotels, and yeah, so it brewed into a good one with the backstory.
Yeah. What do you think to the fight? Because Kelly came out of blocks quick, didn't he? Looking really good and slick and sharp and punching hard and all that. He's a massive welterweight, isn't he?
Well, physically, he had the height and the reach advantage.
Yeah.
And for the first 4 rounds, it was going swimmingly for Josh Kelly. I was actually. It was a fight that I was a bit gutted that it finished when it did, because you had a nice. What happened during that fight? I kind of scored it at home more detailed than any of the other fights, and I was getting into it from that observation point, and it really did swing tactically in round 5. Avenesian was getting more success to the body and slowed down Josh Kelly quite heavily, and then obviously round 6 was when he got dropped twice and the towel came in. But it was good to see the swing, and I was just hoping for maybe 4 or 5 more rounds of that, because it was a decent showcase of two different styles.
Yeah. Right. Josh Kelly's obviously a bit younger than the other kid. I said last week on him that I thought Avenesian was a 7 in each category across the board, a good seasoned guy. But I also thought Kelly would win on points because he's an in-house fighter, isn't he? I thought he'd get the nod. But he was found wanting, wasn't he, after 4 rounds? So has he not come on from his amateur days, you know, fighting 3 rounds and that kind of thing? And has he not integrated himself into being a professional? I don't know. I'm not going to be critical about Adam Booth, but let's have a look at just a few fighters that Adam Booth's had. David A. Adam Booth rung Dennis up, said we want to fight Carl Thompson. Dennis says, oh, you're not ready for Carl Thompson. You've only had about 10 fights. No, we are, and you're our promoter, make me fight. So Dennis's exact words were, remember this day, and remember what I told you, Adam. All right, you can't run before you can walk. But I think Adam Booth's been caught in a bit of a dilemma, because what's the point in having fighters building up 20-0 records fighting stiffs when you can dip your toes after half of them fights? You know, like David A after 10. Josh Kelly, was that his 11th or 12th fight last night?
Let's have a quick look. One second, just bring up. So that was his 11th fight. No, 12th fight, because he's got one draw, 1 defeat, and 10 wins now.
Right. Well, so we move on to George Groves. He fought Carl Frotch, didn't he? Adam Booth. So yeah, fight Carl Frotch, and they fell out in camp. When fight were announced, but he were all for George taking that fight. So people say. So this is how I look at it. We've had Ryan Burnett as well. Who did he lose against? Was it in that tournament, wasn't it? How many fights had he had?
He retired a few years back because of that repeating back injury.
Yeah, but how many fights did he have before he retired altogether?
So he retired after 21 fights.
21 fights.
He lost to Donaire. That was in the World Boxing Super Series.
Right. Well, opportunities come. I don't know if we can give him an hard time over Groves and Burnett, because he wanted in corner for Groves, and Burnett had gone by the 20 fights. But I still felt Burnett were a little bit not seasoned enough for that tournament. Do you agree, Simon?
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look through some of his fights on the run-up to Donaire, and you're not looking at big, obvious names to stand out. I mean, he won the bout off of a Bristol fighter, Lee Haskins.
Former world champion.
Yeah, so that was where he won the IBF belt. Yeah, it just seems to be when he got to a stage where he was going against someone who'd been against. Donaire's been in with some elite fighters.
Yeah. All right then. Josh Kelly. Who were Josh Kelly's best 3 wins prior to going in with Avenesian, a former world champion and a European champion? Who were his best 3 wins, Josh Kelly?
Oh, you're talking some unknowns on that list.
Right.
His previous fight before Josh Kelly was against Winston Campos in the States, unanimous decision.
Okay.
He then drew in America against Ray Robinson.
Right.
He's got 3 losses on his record.
Right. So who David Avenesian been in with? Who's a name? You know, who's a face? Hit me with it. Who'd he been in with?
Shane Mosley, Lamont Peterson.
That's 2 world champions. Shane Mosley's an all-time great. Yeah. Lamont Peterson beat Amir Khan?
Yeah. Then he got done after the fight, didn't he, Peterson?
He got what?
He popped. Didn't he pop positive for something after the Khan fight?
Yeah. Did Avenesian beat Peterson?
No, he lost on points.
Right, but he went the distance with him. Did he beat Shane Mosley?
Yes.
Right,
Points, unanimous.
Right, who else has he beat?
He beat that recently. He beat that Carmen Lagarja in Spain twice, and he was beating people. He was KOing people.
So outside the big four in welterweight, you'd put Avenesian in that next four, wouldn't you? He's a top 8. He's a top 10 welterweight in the world. You'd probably say 5 or 6 in the world you'd have him at, wouldn't you? I'd like to see him fight Kell Brook myself, if Kell comes back.
Yeah, I don't know if Kell would fancy that.
No, because it's not a big enough fight, and blah, blah, blah. You want the bigger names, you think? Yeah.
I think there isn't enough money on the table, and Kell's at a strong risk of losing that.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. So he's in David Avenesian. He's kind of like in the Who Needs Him club, isn't he? Basically, he's not English. He's Russian, and he's an hard night's work for anybody who's going to go distance, isn't he?
Totally. That's what really impressed me with him last night, and that was sorry on my. I was scoring that quite good detail, and it was 4-0 after 4 for Kelly. But he was still having David Avenesian was still having good success, and then in the 5th he put it on him hard. He hadn't taken punishment, Avenesian, but he was making sure he was beginning to shut down the distance and start working Kelly on the inside and beat him up. Right
then. Okay, well, let me just throw this at you. Could you say that Josh Kelly, and I like to say this because I know I'm right, could we say that Josh Kelly didn't go through the levels?
Totally.
Has he got an area belt, an English, a British, a Commonwealth? Has he got any of them on his record?
Hold on. No, he hasn't.
So what's he doing?
Not picked up any belts, has he?
Right. So what's he doing in a European title? And he hasn't fought since 2019. Who sanctioned that? Who has signed off on that? It's 2021, and he's in a European title fight, and his last fought 2019. Yeah. Who signed off on that? Who sanctioned it? And the kid's got smashed to bits, punched upside down. Towel came in, got wrote off in front of my eyeball. Tough kid, nice kid, gutted for him, gutted for Richard Towers, gutted for Adam Booth. But should he have been in with him? And is this kamikaze matchmaking? Yes or no?
Well, yeah, I think it was evidently now. It was 2 rounds of a beatdown, wasn't it? Rounds 5 and 6 turned into a beatdown for Kelly. He got beaten up on the inside, and the corner made the right decision to pull him. But that fight was they kept telling us in the narrative that fight was 2 years in the making. So if they've had that much, the team around Josh Kelly have had that much time. Longer than that.
Well, longer than that. We're 3 years.
Yeah. So they've had that much time to consider the opponent. They could have stepped away from that fight and took a different path, getting more experience. Because what we can see, and the kind of the consensus before that fight was he doesn't like it on the inside. He likes to keep it mid and long range, counter punch you, and use his fast hands to keep people away. But he can't. It's clear that he can't keep fighters off of him for the middle section to the later section of a fight.
I had him winning first 3 rounds.
Yeah, totally. He was winning the fight on the cards, but
it just fell apart, didn't he? Can we say he got old manned? Because Eddie Hearn's saying he got old manned and it happens and he's elite. Look, David Avenesian is a good, solid world operator. Euro level stroke, a touch above, but he's not elite, is he?
No, he's not. And what it was the spin after the fight was David Avenesian should be chasing a world title now. I don't think the commentators or pundits did their homework last night. You've got Errol Spence, who holds 2 of the belts, Crawford WBO, and Manny Pacquiao WBA.
He gets wrote off in all them. Right.
Yeah, and then the other contenders in and around, you've still got Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Ugas. They're all going to cause him problems, in my opinion.
Does a win over Josh Kelly, if they keep bigging Josh Kelly up, tickle Avenesian's ego and his team, Carl Greaves, Neil Marsh? Or are we going to say that Josh Kelly is fundamentally still a novice and a prospect after 12 fights? 12 fights and two hiccups.
Yeah, they've got to rethink how they approach his development here, because you can't take too many of those beatdowns in that early stage of your career.
Does Josh Kelly leave the Dark Lord?
Where does he go? This has happened a lot this sort of conversation has happened with Yard, Dubois, Josh Kelly. You look at Warrington last week. Mm-hmm. Where do these Brits go if they don't find the coaches in the UK? Why aren't they traveling out? Why aren't they going outside of the UK to get coaching to take them on the next level?
Adam Booth's got a better CV than all them coaches that we're on about who were training them kids. Though better than Tunde, better than other ones we're on about.
You've got Daniel Dubois' previous trainer.
He's got a better CV than Martin Bowers. He's got a better CV than Tunde Ajayi.
Sean O'Hagan.
He's got maybe just a better CV than Sean O'Hagan. Yeah, got a better CV than him as well. Yeah.
But the problem is, it's a trend of Brits getting done over, and are they just going to keep dotting around the UK in our small island to different coaches? And ultimately, it doesn't solve the problem, does it?
Well, I seen it all last night. Go to Dave Coldwell. He's the best. Dave Coldwell. We're not worthy. And whereas before weighing, everybody was saying, go to Adam Booth. Go to Ben Davidson. We're going to get it today, aren't we? The Ben Davidson sermon. Eagle's a bit unmissed. Eagle's a bit under the radar. Ben Davidson, he likes to put sermons out on a Sunday. We normally get the Dave Caldwell sermon. We probably might even get one later, or even as we speak, we're doing one now, basking. But we couldn't get a Dave Caldwell sermon when Jordan Gill quit, could we? When David Price got iced, when Fowler got beat, we couldn't get a sermon then. It's all right having a sermon when you're winning, but what about when you're losing? Go in front of the cameras then. Is that right, Dave Caldwell? Okay, then, moving on. We spoke about the levels and that. We're going to speak about the punditry now and a couple of more tweets before we move on to bigger and better things. Right. Ray Doyle piped up on Twitter last night. For those of you who don't know Ray Doyle, I like Ray Doyle. Very quiet kid. He's always been in Steffi Bull's shadow. He trained Anthony Tomlinson when he started and Terry Harper until Terry Harper got on TV, and then Steffi pushed him to the side because he likes a bit of limelight, doesn't he, Steffi? But Ray Doyle piped up last night, and I need to correct him. He's a friend of one of my friends, Ross, from Kilness. But anyway, here we go. Ray Doyle said, great stoppage and all that and blah, blah, blah. Well, about me and Adam Booth. Well, let me just say this. All right. What about the stoppage with Moeba? He let that Moeba on an MTK show. He's from around here, Moeba. he let him get smashed up. He didn't pull him out, did he? Why didn't he pull him out? Because he was Steffi Bull's fighter, wasn't he? So the point I want to make is you can't have it both ways. You can't be coming out as a trainer, coming out with things like that about great stoppage and all that. Well, like I've just said, you didn't pull Moeeba out, did you? You left him in there to get flogged. So, just pointing out, Ray, you have to think before you tweet. Do what Billy Joe Saunders does now. Think before you tweet. It's like when you go to Edge Road. You look for a green cross code job, innit? Well, Raymond, think before you tweet. But the last time I saw you, Raymond, you had a baldy head like me. Now you're walking about with an afro. So, looks a good transplant, that. But yeah, I just think that trainers, they need to remember that if they're in a glass house, they shouldn't throw stones. But are we now entering a new era of rimming? And when I mean rimming, I mean up people's hoops. I mean, could you imagine Peter Fury, Carl Froch, Mark Tibbs, Mick Whale, Clinton Woods, Joe Gallagher, even Frank Warren, any of them people, men's men, rimming like the tweets that we had to endure last night on the TV screen? But not only that, I've got people sending me them as well, and it's becoming embarrassing. What do you think about all these tweets and people, when there's a show on, they're just constantly doing it just to try and get the tweets on the telly? What do you think about it? You think it's embarrassing for real grown men? These are supposed to be men's men, but ex-boxers and ex-amateur boxers, and it was painful to see. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, it's not a healthy state of affairs where we've got these sort of cringe level tweets popping up on the bottom left-hand corner of the screens from people in the fighting game who are saying they are fighting men and giving it the tough guy narrative, and it comes to it, and they're just putting out absolute ass-kissing nonsense. And it's a select pool of people that get the exposure, get the tweets on the telly. Then when we get their sound bites later on one of the internet channels to give their views and things. So it kind of stays in an in-house loop constantly.
Did I tell you that IFL, I'm not going to go into other ones because we've only looked at IFL's traffic on their computer, on their analytics, 79% of their traffic is the same 32 people. How's about that one? 79% of their traffic is 32 people. Is there more than 32 people in the sport of boxing? Hey.
Wow.
There you go. There you go.
There's been a big shift in that channel since behind the scenes of IFL was restructured a few years ago, where James Helder moved on. Yeah. The shift.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, he moved on to another level.
All right then. Sorry. Well.
Yeah, you can just see the shift in approach from the content, the theme of the interviews and things like that. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah. All right, mate. It's utter. That's what this is, Edward. Right. Bean and Macklin. Bean came out with some. It's the netball on Monday, Matt. What did you think to that? Oh my God! They've got to be taking the piss out of us with that. Hey, we've got netball on Monday. You know what happened when that happened? I ended up watching DAZN. Nick Orlin. Jim Watt, Nick Orlin. He don't know a fucking thing. Nick Orlin, who I'm not a fan of, and Natasha Jonas, probably the only pundit that I've seen in the last 6 months that's actually speaks sense. She looks the business. She's a 10, isn't she? She sounds fantastic. She's got a great smile, very warm. She's got a small child and that, and she's making a weight world. She's in her mid-30s, but I think Natasha Jonas can have a career in doing this. She's better than Anna Woolhouse, and she's fought as well and beat Olympics and been robbed in a world title. She is going to be the face for women's boxing, I think. I do honestly. I thought she came across really, really well. Honestly, what do you think, Simon?
Yeah, every time I've seen her on Sky or DAZN, she's come across as with a smart, detailed insight into boxing, not really providing unnecessary storylines and plots. And we're getting someone who's been in the amateur and pro game. What I would say is that at the moment, in her stage of her life, I would like to see her back in the ring and having certain fights before she transitions over into the presenting. There's still a few more fights for her to offer.
Right.
Maybe that's 3 more good quality fights, and then she can call it a day.
Yeah.
But I think she can cross over quite nicely. And
very easily. Very easily. She's got the pedigree, ex-England, beat Olympics. Fantastic fighter, looks the part, comes over brilliantly. She's not vulgar. She's not controversial. She's just a genuinely nice kid, isn't she? So I wish her well. Now, I want to ask you about something that Robert Smith, a.k.a. the British Boxing Board of Control, Big Dog. Robert Smith said, 2014, after Froch Groves, he said, and I quote, "People talk to me about levels, and I blame the smaller minority belts, which are attractive for managers and promoters to go to, and it's disregarding or disrespecting the Lonsdale belt, right? Because if you remember a few years ago, they kept going on about how hardly anybody goes for Lonsdale belt no more, do they? They all want to jump the levels and not learn the craft. It's like back in the day, a panel beater's job to learn how to spray cards. They call it panel beating at college. Was 7 years. Now it's 2 years. You're not going to let a kid spray a Ferrari at 21-year-old, are you? Or an Aston Martin, right? But yeah, you let a 30-year-old guy do it, wouldn't you? Because he's got experience now. Point I want to make is that these belts are diluting the British Boxing Board of Control's belt, the British title. But yet we've got Josh Kelly and Conor Benn, who were both world ranked yesterday. Pair of them have not fought for a British title. Am I right? Or a Commonwealth?
Yeah, that is the current state of affairs with those guys.
Have they got an area, an English, a British, or a Commonwealth on their record? Or a European? Yes or no?
No.
Right. Why are they world ranked then? Why? How can that be? How can that be? How are they world ranked? How? How can that be? These fighters are going to get hit. Somebody's going to get hit, you know. They're going to be like that, put to kick. Everybody's going to run for hills like Matchroom did when Michael Watson got hit on their show. That's what's going to happen. Everybody's going to put their heads in the sand, just like they did when Scott Westgarth died. Nobody mentions that kid's name now, who died on a Steffi Bull show. Everybody were going to retire and do this and do that. Nobody mentions him. And in it, anniversary of that poor kid dying around about now or something, nobody mentions him. Nobody, mate. So it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. These fighters are not going through the level. They're not. They're not. They're trying to do what Eddie Hearn says because promoters are running the show now. Promoters and TV run the show. Adam Smith, you should be ashamed of yourself. Where are these British title fights? Where? Where are they? Hey? Pandering to these monkey belts. That's what it is, pandering to them. What do you think about that, Simon? Is that right?
Isn't there a certain person called Ed Robinson at Sky who does sign off on these shows and fights as well?
Jesus. Ed Robinson, yeah. He's to blame as well, but Bean's to blame as well because he's got his paws all over everything. Bean, Ed Robinson, and Eddie Hills, you lot are to blame. You should be embarrassed. All of you, embarrassed. Intercontinental this, international that. Dennis has just said, Dennis, he didn't want Tommy Frank to fight Sonny Edwards. They filled the nappy when they got offered that fight. I was screaming for it. What are you doing, Dennis? We're winning a different route. Why don't you just say you don't want to fight Sonny Edwards? Because we want to do our own thing with Tommy. I said, okay. Well, in my opinion, Tommy got beat in his last two. But he got the nod. What happens in next fight? Got beat, didn't he? See where I'm coming from? Now they wish they took the Sonny Edwards fight and got paid. People don't listen. You go through the levels. There's no shortcuts. Tried to get Tommy a shortcut to a world title in IBO. In fact, there you go. I think I've still got it here. There you go. There you go. Tommy Frank versus Flores. IBO world title. You want to put this before a British title, Dennis? Jesus. Well, it didn't happen, did it? Because of the pandemic. That should have been 27th of March last year. You can't educate pork. I bet Tommy wishes they took Sonny Edwards on now. But it is what it is, isn't it? Stop, promoters out there. Stop disrespecting the British title. Mick Hennessy didn't disrespect it. Carl Froch won it outright. How many people have won it outright? How many people? Ritson won it outright, didn't he? How many people, though, are winning British title outright? They don't want British titles. They all want a quick fix to a few quid like Anthony Yard. Has Anthony Yard won a British title? Has he? Yes or no?
Definitely not.
Right. Did he fight for a world title and get knocked out?
Yeah.
Right. So what were he doing in a world title as a top contender when he not won a British? He not gone through the levels. Got battered. Somebody's going to get hurt. TV are the problem, and promoters give them bullets to fire. It's about money to these people, not legacy. Don't believe promoters when they say legacy. It's a load of shit. Right. Moving on. Oh, we know Bellew's a gimp. I'll put Tony Bellew, you gimp. We know. Sam Jones in every interview to this morning. Yeah, every time I pop my telly on, I see Sam Jones. It's Sam Jones' sermon, isn't it? Right. Let's move on. We're going to save something juicy for last, aren't we? That bit of research you've done this morning. We'll save that for last. Right. Eddie Hearn and Beanie. I have to put 10p in box. I'm going to 10p. Eddie Hills and Beanie in a ping pong match. Adam Smith, actual words were, it was a war of attrition. Oh my God! Oh my God! A war of attrition. Is that what happens when two men who went to private school have a game of ping pong? A war of attrition. So we've got Eddie Hearn, the former fast bowler, tearing in for Essex like Bob Willis, opening bowler. Amateur star, 4-0, 3 by way of, but it turned out that it were two skills bouts and there were no winner. And now we've got Eddie Hearn, British champion ping pong player, against Bean in a war, Eddie Hills, sorry, against Bean in a war of attrition. Oh my God. War of attrition, Simon. Come on, help me out here.
Well, we've had the test match in Brentwood in the summer, haven't we, at the mansion? Now it's ping pong in the bubble in the hotel. So they're drumming up some good activities in there. They're really adding an extra spin on these fight cards and things.
Google Cassius, why are you filming Eddie Hills playing Mr. Bean at ping pong? Why are you filming that? Or why are your workmen filming that load of shit. Jesus. Anyway, moving on. Porky, Jordan Gill is a poor man's Kid Galahad. Agree? With the art of a breadcrumb, he's a quitter. Well, I don't like to use that word because he's got balls to get in there, but he's not going to win a world title. Porky, he fought like he shit his pants. Yeah, I thought he did. Jordan Gill, was he marked up? People in the industry are saying he were marked up. Do you agree?
Yeah, he didn't come out of that fight look in roses, did he? It was it wasn't a convincing display, but he never wanted to get really inside and get his hands dirty.
Right, this is a juicy one. I don't know how to come out with this now because I'm not going to tell you who told me this, right? Here we go. Joshua, all right? The plan B for Joshua, because obviously at Fury fights, there's nowhere, is it, at the moment, is it? Fury's walking around 20-odd stone. Joshua doesn't really want to fight him, if truth be known. Right, do you know the guy, the Chinaman, the big Chinaman that Joshua beat at Olympics?
Zhang Zheli.
Yeah, there's a rumour doing around he's going to fight. This is later on this year. There's also a rumour doing around that Josh Warrington, right, he's going to fight Kanzu, and Terry Harper is going to fight the Korean the Korean girl who's a world champion. That's going to be in China. Do we think that that's why Sky Sports have made a big thing about Josh Warrington getting a phone call from Anthony Joshua? It's like getting a phone call off Pope, isn't it? They wheel Eddie Hearn out then, don't they? And Bean and Johnny Nelson, the company man. They wheel them all out. Say AJ spoke to him and said, yeah, you've got to pick your son up, dust your son down, spit the sawdust out, and come back. Setbacks paved the way for comebacks. And even Ali got beat. You know, you've got to come back stronger, faster, quicker than a speeding bullet. Eating kangaroo meat. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a possibility that could be Eddie's plan B? China?
Potential market there is healthy. So if their lockdown measures are relaxed as we're being portrayed in the media in China now, then they could have spectators in and they could sell that card pretty easy there. Whether boxing has got a decent market there, I'm not sure.
Well, they've got snooker there, haven't they? Eddie Hills and his dad Barry Hearn, they've got the snooker there over there, haven't they?
They'll have the infrastructure behind the scenes to pull it off. But whether there's a good appetite for it there, I don't know. But that card, those 3 fights that Joshua Zhang Zheli is, that could happen.
Well, they're not just going to put 3 on, are they? They'll probably put 6 on, but there's 3 world title fights there, isn't there? Warrington, Joshua, and Harper all fighting some Chinese people or people who live around that area. That's 3 world title fights. 1 a woman, because they'll try and tap into the Chinese market, won't they? For women, and other 2 men. Joshua's obviously a big star, isn't he? And then you've got Warrington on comeback trail against Kanzu. So I think it is possible. And obviously now Josh Warrington's a bit starstruck getting a phone call from AJ, isn't he? So who knows? Who knows what's in store?
Hasn't Warrington got to recover from a fractured jaw at the moment, perforated eardrum?
For me, he's got to beat that Lara again. But whether they want to take that fight again, I don't know. I don't know whether they want to take it. They'd easily be able to bump him up rankings and get that Kanzu fight if he took short end at money. But for me, he's got to beat that Lara again, correct that before he goes to China.
That's a big one to take on your first loss, though. First career loss, and he got slapped about badly there.
Yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree with Nick Manners who are coming back into the fight. I think he fought through a load of haze, and he just couldn't recover from first knockdown. That's what I think, anyway.
It was similar to Joshua Ruiz won.
Yeah.
Where Joshua got dropped in round 3 and he never recovered from that first knockdown. Then it caught up with him in round 7. So the rounds of the stoppage were different, but the pattern of someone getting dropped and then they suffered for the remainder of the fight was similar between Joshua Ruiz and Warrington Lara. So yeah, I think Warrington was after that first knockdown, he was always in trouble, and there was some bad corner work and bad officiating from Foster.
Do you think Howard Foster had a bad night that night?
If you watch the end of the round where Warrington's dropped, he didn't quite do a Terry O'Connor, where he picked up Nathan Cleverly after Kovalev dropped him. If you watch it, I can't do it very well on this camera, but he puts his arms wide out and he turns his body and directs Josh Warrington to the corner, because Josh Warrington is walking off on a diagonal into the ropes, not into the corner. So there was some suspect referee guidance there. And then O'Hagan, after seeing that, I'm pulling my fighter. And if you look back to last night's stoppage, I think what we got to give credit for Adam Booth is he stopped that correctly last night. We can say, yeah, the towel was correct, but Warrington should have been stopped in 4 last week.
All right, then. Would you say that Howard Foster's officiating, handling that first knockdown, was very similar to Terry O'Connor carrying Nathan Cleverly back to the corner when Kovalev pummeled him?
Yeah, not as drastic, but there was definitely some referee assistance for the home fighter going on again, where if you're assessing referees on their competency that night, O'Connor's far worse because he physically lifted the guy and sat him down almost, whereas Foster has actually used his body to just turn his momentum and guide the fighter back in. So there is some bad officiating in both of those examples. So I'm not comfortable with it.
Do you feel that the officiating now is a load of middle-aged men that are auditioning to be invited back to the bubble because they're all on danger money every day while they're there? It's meals on wheels. You just laid on your hotel bed all day, aren't you? And having your meals brought to you. And they forget 45p a mile to drive there, 45p a mile to drive back, which is like taxi money, isn't it? Do you feel that it's just free gratis for these people?
Yeah, they've all boxed, and they're in the UK boxing circuit from 20, 30 years back. So anyone that hasn't boxed is not going to get considered to be a high-level referee based on that background. They've got some sort of ties and connection to boxing, whereas if you're a professional official in football, other sports, you're going in to make a full-time career of this refereeing or officiating. So what they're doing is that they're becoming a referee at one fight of last night, then they're judging on a different fight. It's like, if you're scoring intensely for a 10 or 12 rounder, that's quite tough on you mentally. You've got to really focus. If you're doing it properly, you've got to pay attention. You've got to look at the clock. You've got to consider what each fighter's doing, attacking, whether they're actually, when they're attacking, are they landing clean punches and things like this. So it's overkill of their roles. Are you a referee or are you a judge scoring the fight? What are these guys doing?
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not healthy.
It's not healthy. That's correct. That's right. That's about it, mate. We've had an hour. I've enjoyed it. It's been emotional. We've had to right a few wrongs, haven't we? And just tell it as it is, because nobody dares say it like this channel. We're amazing! Women love me, men want to be me!
I can't wait for the netball tomorrow night.
Netball tomorrow night on Sky, Matt. What do you think to that? Woo! 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 Woo!
Cancel the Premier League. It's netball night.
Forget any football or Champions League. It's netball tomorrow. And Gary Neville's sister, Tracy Neville's, coming into the studio, Matt. Oh, my God. So, I wonder who got that job. Gary Neville, probably. Right, then. Thanks for coming on. I'm going to get this out today at 2:30. They give me time. I might even put it out a bit early. I've got one coming out that I've just done on way here. That's going to be going out at 2, but I might bring them out early just to give everybody a good old treat. All right? So peace out. Peace out. Keep on trucking. Keep supporting boxing. Simon, all the best to you and your family. Have your missus had a baby yet?
No, beginning of May.
Beginning of May. Well, good luck. My advice, buy loads of wipes and loads of nappies and keep them in stock. Get them into sale while you can if you see out into sale. All right, my friend?
Cheers, mate.
You take care. God bless. Cheers,
Bye
Simon.
for now.
Bye. Well, that was Simon from Bristol, and he loves the sport of boxing. Just like Stig. How are you doing, Stig? Hope you're well. Big shout out to chaps at Barton ABC in Manchester. Big shout out to Nicky Smedley, Chris Smedley, Luke Smedley at King's Boxing Gym, Sheffield. Big shout out Glyn Road. Big shout out to John Fuchs. Have you got your license, John? Ooh. Make sure Dennis don't put you on a ticket deal, John. Hey. Dennis, come see me. Stop chatting nonsense, Dennis. Come see me. We'll get you on channel. You have to pay me, though, this time, now that we're a bigger channel. I'm full of it today, aren't I? Well, I'm going to get this uploaded. I'm going to go home. I'm going to jump into my car. Not this one I've come in today. This is just my snowy weather car. I'm going to jump in mine because it's just been oil changed and that, and I'm going to cruise. I'm going to cruise with Tupac on, Biggie, and a bit of Pink Floyd, I think. I'm just going to cruise today. I just need to be by myself today. No cameras, no Porky's Corner, no kids, just me. I need some Russell time, and that means that I just want to get on that motorway and cruise. Big shout out to my friend Frank Smith at Bury. Ring anytime, Frank. Let me know when you're up to having visitors. Peace out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment and sharing the videos. But most of all, thanks for helping me build the channel up into a position that we're in now. All right? Good things are going to happen. All right? And I do apologise to all them people that were saying that I was worse than wear the other night when I did the interview with Michael. But it's my channel. I can do what I want. When you're getting as many videos as you get off me a month, every now and then you're going to get one where, you know, I might be tired or might not be 100%. If you don't like it, you know what you can do, don't you? All right. Ta-ta.